In the Eastern spiritual traditions, we often hear that life is play, or life is playful and should be enjoyed and we should have fun in life. But what does this actually truly mean? In Taoism, Buddhism, and Hinduism, there is this idea of life is play. Now, this is summed up with the Sanskrit lila, meaning that the phenomenal world is playful. It is a play. And also at the heart of Taoism is this idea of not taking life so seriously, because understanding the importance of play itself as opposed to being serious and living through the analytical mind, where Zhuangzi and Lao Tzu would talk about coming more from a hot cognitive state, which is more of our nature. And when you do come from this holistic state of mind in the hot cognition, then you understand that life is nourished with being playful and not taking life so seriously. And this is when we actually are at our most peaceful and happiest, when we're in that state. But often we're trying to strive to get to that state without realizing that life is playful in and of itself, but we get caught up in our own ego and its wants and needs and desires for the future. But when we look at the concept of lila, the whole phenomenal world is a play, and it's meant to be taken playfully by us. We are meant to have fun in this life, not at the expense of others, but to have fun purely, to enjoy life as it is. But it becomes distorted because we have our own perspective of how the world should be. And so when we live through that identity, then we can't be playful because we haven't opened our consciousness up to the inherent playfulness of the phenomenal world. And this is why when you see a sage or a master, a lot of people will say they have a very childlike manner about them because they don't take life seriously. They don't operate as the stereotypical adult does in the modern world with all of their anxiety and stress about the life that they've made for themselves. A sage is free of all of that. They haven't made a life for themselves, really. They've just kind of flowed with the phenomenal world and have engaged in the play in a playful manner. So this is why the spiritual master is not troubled by the circumstances of the world. Now that may sound strange to you and I because we often get troubled by the circumstances of the world because we live through that identity. But a spiritual master does not live through that identity because they've disintegrated that. They've dissolved and downregulated the volume of their identity so they can see reality in its true one nature. And so they are not troubled by the changing circumstances of the world. They abide in their true nature, the undifferentiated consciousness that we would call Brahman in Sanskrit, and they are not troubled by anything that happens in the world. They have that ultimate abidance that is depicted in the Bhumisparsha mudra of the Buddha, where the Buddha is unmoved by the changing circumstances of the world. The Buddha is completely still and unmoved, no matter what the world is doing. So when you know about this, you are not troubled by the world. And this is the problem with a lot of spiritual aspirants, because when they develop their mind and they are on the path, they sometimes feel guilty about whether they have fun or they enjoy themselves or they enjoy the beauty of a conversation or things in a very innocent way. But you should not be perturbed about that. Once your mind is free, you can go here, there, and everywhere. You can be like Zhuangzi's genuine pretender, where you can just move through all sorts of different worlds because you don't have an identity, and so you are not stuck to any sort of one mental state or image of yourself. You are free to move about, and you are free to walk through different worlds and not be stuck to them, nor do you build any sort of residual vasanas, latent tendencies, from the places you go. You find this with the yogic tradition, right? The yogic tradition don't stay in any one place too long, because they pick up the vasanas of that particular area. And they know in their spiritual practice to keep the consciousness open, it's good to move about and not pick up those tendencies that begin to develop a self-image. Unconsciously, we do that, right? We develop this self-image of ourselves, this ego, and a perception of the world that is usually built on the environment we're around, the conditioning we've endured, and so forth and so on. So you can go on enjoying your life truthfully once you understand it's a play. And there's a type of innocence to it, actually. There's really a type of innocence to it because you're not taking life so seriously. You're just enjoying life for what it is meant for, to enjoy. That's what the Leela, the play is. It's there to enjoy in a very pure way. Not enjoy in the sense of the way the ego would like to enjoy itself. You don't want to extrapolate that understanding. But what you need to understand is that it's here to be enjoyed from the self. And when you enjoy it from the self, from the Atman, it's very playful and innocent because you are not living through personal agenda. Maybe if you were living through personal agenda and your ego, you might be down the pub getting legless drunk and thinking that this is really enjoying life, when actually it's not. It's not. We've all been there, right? Legless drunk is not a good state of consciousness to be in. So you're not living from that perspective. You're living from the pure state where you can actually begin to enjoy life as it truly is. And that is why we actually live in the Leela, is to enjoy it as it truly is, to harness the playfulness that is at the heart of our being. Unfortunately, as we get older, society begins to wear people down and people begin to solidify this ego within themselves because of the accumulative sense of self through culture and conditioning and the socialization process we've gone through. And so then we become a really serious person. Whereas if you downregulate that, then you know inherently that life is play and the phenomenal world itself is here to enjoy and not to become a victim of, nor to be in conflict with. Shanti, shanti, shanti.